Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be doing my February wrap-up. So thank you guys for liking the format of the first one that I did. That was obviously like kind of experimental, so I'm going to continue updating and hopefully polishing my format as the year goes on. This time around I'm going to be including more bookish kinds of stats in this video. In February I read a total of 10 books, and I'm going to link down below anything that I have already reviewed in my recent reads video in case you want to hear full thoughts on any of those. My goal in February was to read 15 books, so I'm obviously a bit shy of that goal. However, I'm really excited because I read a whole bunch of pages. So across those 10 books, I read just under 5,000 pages. I read 4,912 pages, which is quite a lot. So even though I didn't read as many books as I wanted to, I ended up reading books that were a lot bigger than I was expecting to read this month. Pretty much what happened is Chain of Gold showed up in the mail, so obviously that took priority, and that was almost 600 pages. Then I got my hands on a copy of Crescent City, and that was over 800 pages. Things just kind of escalated. I ended up picking up a whole lot of big books this month, and I'm really happy with everything that I did read. So I'm going to show you everything that I read, but before I do that, I'm going to tell you that I feel like in January I tried to push myself so far out of my comfort zone. I tried to read widely across a lot of different genres, and I ended up not enjoying a lot of what I picked up. So I've kind of decided that I want to just embrace my love of fantasy and get back to my roots. And obviously I still love romance and contemporary as well, but I'm probably not going to force myself to read literary fiction or nonfiction if I'm not feeling it at that moment, because then I end up not liking it as much as I might have if I'm in the mood for it, because I'm a mood reader. So because I really leaned into the whole fantasy angle this month, I ended up enjoying a lot more of the books that I read, which is a good thing. Anyway, so the 10 books that I read this month were The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgkin Burnett, American Royals by Katharine McGee, and this one I buddy read, oh actually Secret Garden I buddy read with Alexa, but she finished it way earlier than I did. This one I buddy read with Heather from Book Bowls, and this one I actually finished first. The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. This I read as a refresher so that I could jump into Deck of Omens having everything from The Devouring Grey fresh in my mind. Rush by Candy Steiner. This was a Kindle Unlimited pick of mine, and it's the first book in the Palm South University series. Then I read Chain of Gold, which my friend Rachel is currently reading. I gave her my ARCs, but she could read it too. And I'm really excited because I'll be getting my finished copy on Tuesday. I'm going to the event that Cassandra Clare is having at the Barnes & Noble in Union Square, and I cannot wait. It's the first Cassandra Clare event that I am ever attending. I've always been kind of intimidated by the crowd that she draws because I loved Chain of Gold so much. Like, it's been my favorite book of hers that she's written so far. I need to be there. I'm so excited to finally have signed books by her. Then I read House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in the Crescent City series. I loved this one, and expect a full review coming next week on my channel. Then I read The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. This is the first book in the All the King's Men duology, and this was actually another one that I ended up reading on Kindle Unlimited despite having a physical copy. Then I read Lodestar by Shannon Messenger. This is the 5th book in the Keeper of the Lost City series. I love this one so much. And finally I read Origin by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is the 4th book in the Lux series, and I listened to this one on audio. For my favorite read of the month, I have a 3-way tie. I cannot choose. I just read such great books this month, and it was so exciting. So I'm kind of cheating here because my goal is to pick one favorite book of the month, but I'm gonna pick one per age group. So my favorite adult book that I read this month was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I cannot wait for everyone to read this so that I could just talk about it. I have so many feelings, and I cannot wait for the next book, and I'm dying to know how Sarah's gonna raise the stakes because things got crazy in this first book. My favorite young adult book that I read was Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, obviously, if you couldn't tell from me gushing in the beginning. This one I did already post a review of, so I'll leave that linked down below. I loved this. This is my favorite Shadowhunters book yet. Loved everything about it. I love the time period. I love the dynamic between the friend group. I love the threat that they are dealing with, and it just made me so happy. And then my favorite middle grade book is Lodestar by Shannon Messenger. This book had me so stressed out. I can't even tell you, like, especially the things that were happening toward the end, and then one element with what one of the characters is dealing with. Obviously, I don't want to give spoilers because it's the 5th book, but I was like, my heart can't take this. I need things to kind of change. It ended up being a brilliant book and heartbreaking and wonderful, and I'm so excited for the next installment. Then for my least favorite book of the month, that would be The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. I didn't hate this book, like, at all. I actually really enjoyed it. I just read so many good books this month, and this one happened to be the one that I liked the least, and I gave this one 3 stars. I actually haven't done a review for it just yet, but that will be coming shortly. The best series starter that I read this month is again going to be a toss-up between House of Earth and Blood and Chain of Gold. I loved both of them. They were both fantastic, and I can't wait to continue both of these series. Totally forgot to hold up Before the Devil Breaks You, but I also read this book this month, so that was one of the 10. I just forgot to list it out because I don't know what I was thinking. But my next category is Best Continuing Series, so for that it will again be a tie, and it's between Before the Devil Breaks You, which is the 3rd book in the Diviner series, and again Lodestar, which is the 5th book in Keeper of the Lost Cities. Both of these were excellent installments in the series that they're part of. I loved them both. This is coming to the end. I only have to read King of Crows and then I'll be completed with the series, whereas I do have more for Keeper, but I thought both of these were excellent. And finally, Best Romance, so that is gonna have to go to House of Earth and Blood. I loved the relationship in this book. It is nowhere near as steamy or smutty as anyone would be expecting. I know everyone was thinking like, oh, Sarah's writing adult books, so it's just going to be a whole lot of like smutty scenes, and that was so far from the case. It was actually a lot less smutty than the other books that she's written, but I really liked the relationship between the 2 characters. I imagine that there will be more of like those smutty scenes in the next book, but in this one I just really loved the romance between them and seeing their relationship develop through all of the traumatic events that they were going through and had experienced in the past, and like helping heal one another. I thought it was very sweet. And then I don't want to say worst romance. This technically isn't even a category, but Lodestar was real rough on my ship this time around. There was a big plot element that was very hurtful and frustrating. We'll see how it's gonna go from here. That's all that I have to say because I don't want to spoil anything. I think you guys already know the character that I really love for Sophie, so that's that. So moving on to other categories like Broadway and TV and movies. I saw one Broadway show this month, and that was Six, the musical. I loved this one so much. I have been listening to the soundtrack, and so has Andrew, so much since we got out of the show. It is so catchy. Though so far the soundtrack that's been released is the original cast recording, and because this first was put on in London, it's those actresses, so it's not the current Broadway cast that has done the soundtrack. Six is basically unlike any other Broadway show that I've ever been to. It felt more akin to attending a concert than attending a musical. It was such high energy and so much fun. Like, as soon as the lights went off and the like stage lights came on, people were just cheering and screaming, and it like truly felt like we were at a concert. It was a really fun experience. Six follows the 6 wives of Henry VIII, and it reimagines each of them as a different pop star. Some of them it's clear who the influences are, and some of them you might have to look up to figure out. And each of these pop divas gets the opportunity to explain their story over the course of a song. It's a concert, but it also kind of has like American Idol type vibes because they're kind of petitioning to the audience to see who is the best wife of Henry VIII. And they end up calling it the Hister Remix, which I really enjoyed. The entire cast is women, and it is only an 80-minute show, and there's no intermission, so it's just start to finish once the lights go out. Really feels like being at a concert. And they're just like on the same stage set, but it's really beautiful, and they have really fun effects, and I really like the way that each of the wives is highlighted. Many of the actresses who are in it are making their Broadway debut, so I hadn't seen any of them before, but I was really excited to see Abby Mueller because Andrew and I saw her sister, Jessie Mueller, in Waitress, which actually was at the same theater that Six is now at. And I also really appreciated how diverse the cast was. I thought it was a really amazing interpretation, and it made the history so much fun. Moving on to movies. So I've been making an effort to watch more movies. Andrew and I watched 3 movies this month, the first one being Booksmart. This was pretty much like a female version of Superbad, except with more intelligent humor, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. It definitely had some very odd scenes, but I think overall it was very enjoyable, and I also really like seeing Billy Lord in like anything. I think the story really appealed to me because I love seeing like the good kids in high school letting loose and having fun for a night and kind of making the most of their last night of high school. And I felt like Booksmart really delivered. Then we watched Shazam, and I'm surprised it took us so long to see this because both Andrew and I were really excited for it. Like as soon as we saw the trailer, it's the first DC movie that we were like, wow, that looks like something we actually want to see. I've been a huge fan of Zachary Levi since his days in Chuck. I've been like very much looking forward to this, but we finally watched it now that we could stream it at home. I do think this is the best current DC film that I have seen so far. I haven't seen all of them. I'm not up to date, so I haven't seen Wonder Woman, so we'll see if my feelings change after I see that one. And Birds of Prey, I haven't seen that yet either. Since this was the first Shazam film, it was also an origin story because obviously you have to familiarize the audience with the character, and I actually appreciated that for once because I personally haven't read too many Shazam comics, whereas other heroes I'm like super familiar with them, but I didn't really know too much about Shazam going into this film, so I was glad to have like the background. One of the things that I really loved about it was that it kept exploring the theme of found family versus the people that you're kind of like born to. I thought that was done really well, and I really loved the whole family. I thought that they were so cute, and I really just want them to have like more cute family time in the next film. I think the humor in it really worked for me, and then I was dying when there was a certain actor cameo toward the end of the movie, and I imagine I'll be showing up more in the next one too. I cannot wait for more Shazam, and I really hope that DC makes more movies in this kind of vein. Then the next night we ended up watching Aquaman because I was like, I really do want to catch up on some DC movies, and this one kind of appealed to me because I do really enjoy Aquaman comics, and I ended up really enjoying this one as well. Do I think it was the best superhero movie ever? Definitely not. But did I enjoy it for what it was? Yeah. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it served its purpose. I don't think it has a lot of rewatchability, but I thought it was fun. And it was also entertaining to see Atlantis brought to life and to finally see Mera on screen because she's a character that I've loved for so long. The one thing that I will say is that some of the like underwater voice manipulation was a little bit silly. And again, it's not a film that I would be like really eager to watch again, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm glad that I've seen it, and now I feel like I can move on. Then moving into television shows, I have been deep in a Vampire Diaries watch. I have never seen the show before, which is crazy because that's something that seems like I would have been totally on board for the minute that it premiered. Andrew and I have been watching it since I think December. We've been like kind of slowly getting into it, though things have really picked up because in February we ended up watching all of season 3 and the majority of season 4, and I feel like things have really escalated and gotten really exciting, and the show has really like found its groove and found its footing. I think the first 2 seasons I really enjoyed, but seasons 3 and 4 really like cemented my love of the show and my love of the characters. I think the originals were a really fascinating addition, and I'm also really excited that they have a spin-off show because I can't wait to watch that too. The show is definitely ridiculous at points, but it still makes me very happy. I love all of the angst. I'm 100% on Team Demon. I definitely don't like Elena with Stefan, but also I'm like Team Caroline forever because she is just the best on this show. Even Andrew has been invested in it because the lore is actually pretty interesting. He doesn't like any of the like high school drama stuff, but finding out about like the founders of the town and just the addition of different supernatural beings outside of vampires too, I think it's just been done really well, and it's really holding my interest at the moment. I know there are quite a few seasons, and I know it does go a little bit off the rails toward the end. I don't know when that's going to be coming, but for now, I'm loving it. Then we binged season 1 of Dollface, and we ended up watching the entirety of the show in like 2 days. So I love, love, love Kat Dennings since the days of Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. And she did this like interview with Nylon Magazine, and I just remember loving her ever since then. And I've been making an effort to follow her career and see like everything that she's been in, with the exception of a lot of Two Broke Girls. I think I watched the first season of that, but it just like wasn't totally for me. I was also really excited that Shay Mitchell was in this show. So it's a sitcom kind of, but there are some like underlying like depressing kind of things. And then it's very weird because I guess you could say there are hints of like magical realism, maybe would be the best way to describe it. First, I thought it was maybe just things that Kat Dennings was seeing in her head, and now I'm not so certain. Like, I think that those elements are actual factors in this world, but they're strange, to say the least. Overall, I really enjoyed it. It was very satirical, and I really loved how it focused so much on friendship. Basically, what happens in the first episode is that we're following Kat Dennings because she is one of those girls that got a boyfriend and then kind of cut off the rest of her friends and just like stopped talking to them, stopped hanging out with them, and her boyfriend ends up breaking up with her, and she really doesn't have anyone to fall back on. So it's her kind of reconnecting with those friends that she lost and them holding her accountable for that time when she just totally ditched them. And it's really nice to see that they still have those feelings of friendship and that they still have each other's backs. I thought there was a lot of really like good touching scenes between the core group of friends. And despite how satirical it was and how funny it was, I thought they did a good job of mixing in those heartwarming moments. And I'm definitely looking forward to watching the second season if there is one. And then next, I normally don't ever include shows unless it's like something we've watched a complete season of, but I just want to mention that Brooklyn Nine-Nine just came back, and this season has been so strong. Like, I think that when they switched networks over to NBC, that first season was a little bit rocky, and I was kind of like I enjoyed it, but I was also like, oh no, is it losing some of its charm? I'm really worried. And now this season, I'm like, they are back on point. They're doing everything that I love. I think why I struggled with last season is that they did a lot of very character-focused episodes, and I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine works best when the group is together and like everyone's kind of involved, not just a very, very small group of people. And they also introduced a new character this season that I really love, but that's where my lips are sealed going forward for that based on the last episode that I just watched. I just wanted to say, like, if you haven't been watching the season, you should definitely do so because it's been really strong so far. And then moving into some favorites of the month, I got to go to the Simon Teen offices and film a video with Emily, who hosts all of the Would Ya Rather videos. So the one that I got to do was themed on To All the Boys I've Loved Before, in anticipation of the P.S. I Still Love You movie that was coming out, and it was so much fun. It was really awesome to get to go to the Simon Teen offices too. I've never been there before. I'll leave a link down below to where you can watch the video that I did with Emily. It's over on the Simon Teen YouTube channel. And it was really fun to just like walk around their office. Emily has the best poster on her beautiful purple door. It has Matthew Fairchild on it, and there's like an ice cream cone magnet holding it up. And I was like, this whole door just speaks to me. The one funny thing that I will say is while I was there, I walked past a giant stack of Chain of Gold arcs, and it was before I had a copy, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, do I just take one of these and make a break for it? Obviously, I didn't do that. That would be really bad. But I was like, oh my gosh, the temptation is real. Next, I went to the first gathering of the Barclay Book Club. So this is a new book club that was hosted by Berkeley Romance, and it was at the Intercontinental Hotel in New York City. It was really fun. It was more like a panel type situation than a book club. Berkeley brought 3 authors to the Intercontinental, and they had a moderator who asked them really good questions. I thought it was moderated really well. The authors that were there were Chanel Cleaton, Melissa K. Adams, and Andy Christopher. You do have to pay to attend. The tickets were $40, but it included drinks, and they also had like buffet of appetizers and like little dessert things. And I went with Alexa from Alexa Loves Books and Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany. And then also included in the ticket price, you get a copy of each of the books from the authors that are in attendance. And then after they give their like panel discussion, happen, you have the opportunity to get those books signed by the authors if you want to. That was the main draw for me. I was really excited to get to meet Chanel Cleaton and to get my Bromance Book Club signed by Lissa K. Adams. It sounds like this is something that they're hoping to host monthly, so I'm really excited to get the opportunity to hopefully go again in the future. I think that it's worth it as long as you like the authors that are there or if you're interested in checking them out. Another favorite is I started kind of getting back into Pokemon Go this month, so kicked off with Minccino Research Day. I really hadn't been picking up the game very much, but I love Minccino. He's so cute. So I was really excited when they had a research day where you could complete tasks and get one and then have the potential to get a shiny one. I really wanted a shiny one because it's pink and the pink shiny Pokemon are just the best. That's a fact. So Andrew and I like geared up to have a whole day outside like trying to catch shinies, and then both of us ended up catching them within like the first 20 minutes. We both had enough of them, but we kept going just because it was enjoyable, and then we also went and got ice cream afterwards. So it was a really fun day, but super cold. It was freezing that day. My next favorite is Dungeons and Dragons. So I had not one, but 2 Dungeons and Dragons sessions this month, and both of them were really fun. The first one is a campaign that me, Alexa from Alexa Loves Books, Andrew obviously, and our wonderful DM, Mackie from Alexa Loves Books, have been doing for over a year now. What we're currently working on is The Curse of Strahd, and it's so much fun. Like, this campaign is totally up my alley. We spent the whole day just exploring like a very creepy manor, and I felt like I was so excited. Mackie's an excellent DM because he is also a writer, so he's really good at crafting the atmosphere of where you are and making you feel like you're actually there, and he can describe everything that's in every room. Like, he doesn't even need to think about it. If you're like, what's there? He's like, this is what's there. He just knows. So I really had fun with that. That was actually my favorite session that we've ever had so far since we began playing together. And then the next day, Andrew started hosting a D&D campaign, but this one we're doing on Roll20, which is like an online way to play. This was the first session, so I got to meet a new person and I knew the other people that were in the group, but a lot of it was like trying to figure out the different technical things before we actually like got into the story portion of it. But I'm really excited to continue like based on where we left off. And I also really like the character that I'm playing for this game. Oh, I should say that. So for the game that I play with Alexa and Andrew and her husband, I'm a half fae, half elf warlock. And for the character that I'm playing for Andrew's game, I am a kind of gothic gnome druid that is obsessed with a vampire teen fiction called Dusk, and all I want to do is meet a vampire. So definitely looking forward to our next game when we're focusing more on just the game outside of technical stuff. Then moving on to NYC favorites, me, Alexa, and Rachel had our annual Galentine's Day outing, and we were able to get a reservation at While We Were Young, which is a restaurant that I've been dying to go to for so long, but it's so hard to get reservations there. And once we went, we understood why. It's really small. It's so beautiful. Like, the decor and everything is so perfect, but it's very tiny. So we want to go back to when it's summer and we won't have to have like coats and stuff with us, but that was really enjoyable. And I actually posted a vlog of that day because we also had like a PS I Still Love You party at my apartment. So I'll leave a link to that down below if you haven't seen that vlog yet, and you'll also get to see clips of like inside of While We Were Young. I had an omelet with goat cheese, red peppers, and potatoes, and it was so good, and I'm still dreaming about it. And we also shared an order of truffle fries, and I would highly recommend both dishes if you ever go there. I'm really hoping that they will, I don't know if they need to raise the capital or whatever, but be able to expand and either move into a bigger location or open a second location, just because it is so tough to get in there. Next, Andrew and I went to the Little Cupcake Bake Shop. So Food and Wine has declared that the Little Cupcake Bake Shop has the best cupcakes in not only New York City, but I believe in the United States, and they were really good, can confirm. We also shared a white chocolate raspberry cheesecake, which was delicious. We went there right after eating brunch, so neither of us were like really hungry, so I want to go back again once I am wanting to eat even more. I also finally got to go to Pizza Beach. I went there with Alexa and Rachel before a Fashion Week party that Rachel was invited to, and she brought me and Alexa with her. And I've been wanting to go to Pizza Beach for so long. I think the decor is so cute, and I've heard really good things about the food, and I really enjoyed it very much. But we went on a very dreary, rainy night, and cold night. And I really want to go back more like in the summer when it's going to be brighter, and I feel like I'll get a better feel for the atmosphere because it is like really bright white and lots of lights and really pretty, but it definitely was like dark because of how it was outside. Andrew and I went to brunch at Egg Shop, which is a place that I've been wanting to go since we moved and just never had before. I was kind of surprised. It was a lot more of a casual dining experience than I was expecting, and it definitely would be hard to go here if you have a large group of people. We went early and it's only the two of us, so it was pretty easy to get a table, kind of walk right in and just sit at whatever's open, and then there's like a counter where I think you can sit there and order if you want also, but if you sit at a table there will be a waiter. But again, it's very, very informal and they don't really have a very extensive menu, but the decor is really cute, the food was really good, and I definitely want to go back. Andrew and I also went to Milk and Cream Cereal Bar, which is one of my favorite ice cream places in the city. They had a February special, which was chocolate eclair. It was vanilla ice cream that was blended with Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, and then they sprinkled like chocolate eclair crumbles on top of it, like the chocolate eclairs that you could get from Ice Cream Man when you were a kid, or I guess now if you still do that. And then they also had these like chocolate heart cookies that they stuck into it, and it was just so delicious. I really like going to get ice cream with Andrew because we usually end up sharing it, because getting a full thing is like too much for me, but it's perfect when I get to have half of it, then I'm not overly full and not pushing myself to finish it. And lastly, I got to see the Tiffany flower box. The Tiffany & Co. on Fifth Avenue, which is the flagship store, is under construction, and it's going to be under construction for like 2 years. So they opened up what they're calling Tiffany next door, which is the temporary flagship. So it's literally right next door to where Tiffany & Co. was. It's really beautiful inside. It's really bright, tons of teal blue for their decor. For the month of February, they had a flower box set up where you could go and you could actually purchase flowers, and they just had a beautiful display that makes it look like you're on a train and then there's like a wall of flowers. I wanted to see that and just like check out the new store, so we popped in there before we got ice cream, and it was really fun. And I took a photo holding Origin by Jennifer L. Armentrout. That was what I was currently reading at the time, and I was really pleased with how that photo turned out. And that is it. That is my February wrap up. Let me know how you liked this month's version now that I'm including more Bookish stats. I feel like my wrap up is going to be more like Bookish superlatives, and then other media that I've watched, and then also like favorites of the month. That's the new thing that I'm trying to do with this. I'm really pleased with it. I have a lot of fun like telling you guys about more than just books that I'm reading, though you can just watch the Bookish portion if that's what you're most interested in. But it seemed to be well received last month, so this is my plan going forward, and then my recent reads videos will be more in-depth book reviews about the books that I actually read. So that's all that I have for this video, and I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!